All right, folks, final days of May. It is May 28th. Some of you probably can believe it, others maybe not. I'm kind of in between. I can believe it because the springs felt really long, but I also can't believe it. How the heck did we get to basically meteorological summer? So, all right, let's try to make sense of what's happening with this forecast. It's been a wet week. In fact, the rain totals for several locations already, and I'll try to fit it into this forecast here, records for the month of May. So we'll get to that. But we have a reprieve here from the rain. That's statewide, it looks like. We do have rain returning, again, statewide, Thursday and Friday. Drier air for the weekend. We can all get on board with that, right? Some drier air next week. All right, let's talk about it. So, when we look at this setup as a whole, okay, this is the national view. We've got, let's see, we've got big picture here. See that stationary front that's along the Gulf Coast? That is kind of the boundary that we're missing today. We had storms move through yesterday, pretty good setup. And today, that boundary is south of us here. So if you live, in the Wiregrass, if you live closer to Mobile, down I-65 south of Montgomery, that might be the spot where we see rain today. But for the most part, you got a little short wave coming out of the Rockies. We have that stationary boundary in the Gulf. Outside of that, a much quieter setup. So with that in mind, we see some sunshine. And guess what? Warmer temperatures as well. It's a little after 11 o'clock as I'm doing this. I think we'll get mid-80s in a lot of spots in central northern Alabama. Warmer than that in areas to the south, most likely. Some of these sensors are still updating. Andalusia, Monroeville, Troy have not updated yet. Look at that. Dothan. How about that? I don't miss that heat when I was in the Wiregrass. 84 at 11 o'clock here this morning. So this afternoon, we look at these high temperatures, and they're going to be warmest in the southern part of the state. However, if we get any of that convection, that will play a role in the temperatures. Lows tonight, soupy everywhere. Coolest spots up near the shoals. Warmest, Mobile over to Dothan, low to mid-70s. And then our highs on Thursday. Well, we're back into the 70s to near 80 degrees. That can only mean one thing. That is the potential for rain. I want to go to the upper air look here. This is at 3 o'clock on Wednesday, so essentially later today. We are looking at a big picture here. We've got a ridge almost across the entire country. What are we seeing here? This is like a cutoff low. Okay, so this is by itself. It is not part of the jet stream, which is retreated, well to the north at this point. So that's why that looks kind of funny. All right, I'm going to drag this forward here to Thursday afternoon. Okay, so here we are, 3 o'clock on Thursday. And you can point out a couple things here. A little shortwave here, and that's going to be all we need to get widespread rain and storms right in here. So that is going to be, that was a horrible drawing, but you get the idea. You can see those short waves, as we talked about this week, in place across the southeast. Then look at this. Hello, jet stream. This is going to do just enough to, I think, give us some cooler air for the weekend. I'll show you what I mean here. So I'm going to switch back over to our telestrator. So relatively speaking, here is our high. Got a relative high here, okay, at the surface. You got cooler air up here as well. This gradient in between, though, is going to be a front that moves through here and bring about some cooler, drier air. And that is really going to be noticeable by Saturday morning. So the core of the trough doesn't get to us. We can tell by this, the coldest air is focused up here. But we're going to be on the very fringe of that cooler air. Again, our ridge is back here. There's the warmer air. This is relatively cooler air in here, and we will certainly feel that, I believe, even down into the Wiregrass on Saturday morning. Again, Saturday afternoon, we're under the flow of northwesterly winds. So when your flow is northwest, this is a drier air mass up here, okay? This is your tropical air mass. So when our winds are southerly, we're sourcing it from here. Northerly winds, it's a continental breeze. It's typically cooler. It is drier. It is more breathable air, and you will feel that over the weekend. Sunday, well, that trough starts to retreat. We've got our big ridge in the middle of the country here. So there it is. You can even see this high pressure right here. Big upper high. warm air that's beneath it. And boy, we'll be right in between the two features here, but this is the beginning of a warming trend, I think, as we know it, heading into next week. There's Monday, and the troughing is now gone. We start to see that ridging shift a little bit further. We still have west to northwesterly flow, but you see that ridge is still centered here. So our warmest temperatures will be down in this area, and we may have some ridge riding thunderstorms or showers by Monday afternoon. So that's a look at the upper air look. I always like to look at that. I think it sets the stage here for the forecast. I want to go to the HER. I'm going to jump to later this afternoon, and you'll see here depicted where I think the rain is going to be most likely. So these are not too dissimilar from sea breeze thunderstorms. You've got winds off the Gulf, you've got plenty of moisture, and we're probably going to see these sea breeze type thunderstorms later this evening if you're down in the Wiregrass. So just something to watch for. The rest of the state, by and large, we're dry. All right, but overnight you're going to see things change. Remember that boundary that I showed you along the Gulf Coast? Well, yeah, that has plans to move north. So this is now at about 3:30 in the morning. We got this big old swath of rain here, and it's moving northeast. So Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Pelham, Alabaster. Early in the morning, we will be looking at this headed in the general direction of really all the Birmingham metro area. So I'll grab that for later. And this will probably impact our morning to some extent here. Let's move this ahead to the actual commute. Let's put it right at about 7:30. All right, schools are out, so you don't really have the school, bus stop to worry about or getting your kids out and about. But if you're getting out and about, and you're up in Gadsden tomorrow, you could be looking at some of the heavier rain up in northeastern Alabama here, and we'll watch for that. But something to keep an eye on here when you talk about morning rain. Okay, it is tough for the atmosphere to rebound for afternoon rain. So this is now at 1 o'clock. Where are we seeing the rain? Well, kind of south of where, remember, we had the rain, forecast for the morning up here. If that morning solution comes to fruition, the focus of rain in the PM is going to be down further south, where the atmosphere has not been worked over. So I'm kind of thinking the northern half of Alabama, morning rain, the southern half, evening rain. And that's probably going to be where, if storms get strong, it's going to be down here, south of Montgomery. So again, you get into the summertime, almost anything can be on the stronger side. In fact, let's see here, pull in day 2 data. So we'll go, there's day 2. It's a marginal risk everywhere. So this doesn't even really have, anything to be concerned with. Understand, you get to this time of year, heat, energy, you can have a strong storm at almost any time. Northern Alabama, I'm not concerned with. The timing of the rain and the overall dynamic or thermodynamic support is going to be lacking. But I'll digress. Okay, into Friday we go. So Thursday, return of the rain. Morning in northern Alabama. Afternoon south of Montgomery. Friday, okay, what does that look like to you? I'm going to zoom this back. It looks like there's a little boundary. Just watch right here, okay, as this boundary advances south. This is our cool front, okay? There it goes. By Saturday, this has now advanced to here. So, our little frontal boundary that's going to bring about the drier air is going to come through Friday afternoon. Now, before it comes through, we will have showers. Given the fact that this is a front moving through, there could be some storms along the line. Remember, a front is a point of forcing. You think of cooler air, relatively speaking, digging up under warmer air. Warmer air is buoyant, so it rises. Cooler air is dense and digs underneath that air mass. And when you have the cooler air wedging underneath a warmer one, that's ingredient for more vertical motion. And the vertical motion tends to trigger more thunderstorms. So we'll watch for that on Friday. But into the weekend we go. Alabama weekend looks great. This is a deep front, meaning, this gets all the way down. This is Saturday morning. This front is clear of the Gulf Coast. This is all, sunny. How about that? Yeah, anytime to draw some stuff. Looks great, honestly. Good stuff across the entire southeast. A nice way to usher in June. And I'm going to move this ahead to Sunday. The one thing, though, I showed you in the upper air look, we are at the base or adjacent to the base of a trough, and we're also on the eastern edge of a ridge. So occasionally you will get showers. So some of these models, the European is what this is depicting a couple isolated showers up here. Let me zoom back to the regional view. This is in the afternoons. This is Sunday at about 3:10. Better rain chances over the Appalachians, Knoxville, Clemson, Columbia, Charlotte, Roanoke, Blue Ridge. For us in Alabama, there may be a shower or two. Northwesterly flow with showers is not usually conducive to strong storms, but we'll watch for it. It's basically meteorological summer, so anything's on the table here. So with that said, a look at the rain totals here over the next 7 days. Big drop in our rain totals. How about that? And speaking of, got to show you this because I worked on this yesterday. So this is a look at the station rain totals since since the beginning of May. I'm going to circle the areas that are records. So this is Fayette, sensor there, 1409, that's a record. Tuscaloosa, depending on what sensor you look at, that's a record. Bolagie, that's at the Lock and Dam over there, that's a record. So some of these don't have long-standing records. Aniana, that is number 2 all time. And let's see, what else was a record here? There's another one, I believe. Talladega, this is number 2 all time. 2003 was a wetter month, and you can see this on my YouTube page. I have a deeper dive into this. In Birmingham, this is number 7 all time wettest May, going back to 1895. How about that? So all that to say, knock it off with respect to the rain. So all right, let's take a look now that we know it's a little bit drier. The 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. This is through Wednesday, June 11th. And when you see a map like this, it typically favors a ridging over the eastern part of the country, hence the above average temperatures in New England and troughing out west. Almost always this time of year you can correlate below average temperatures to rain. So I would expect the precipitation model to kind of outline this. We're not, at a significant potential above average here, but certainly to the beginning of June, it looks like we turn a little bit more summer-like. So if you're escaping to the beach, water temperatures mid to upper 70s. We got rain in store, thunderstorms on Friday and Saturday. Thursday, hit and miss. The weekend and early next week, though, look much better with respect to rain chances. So I think in general, it's the beach. It has its own climate, but looking pretty good as we head into next week. So that is a look at our forecast here. Like I said, it is Wednesday. We're halfway through the week and starting out the summertime in Alabama. So we'll have another update tomorrow. Be safe. Have a good first full week of summer. And we'll talk to you later.